Okay, in this lesson, we're going to talk about functions and graphs. What makes a function? What determines whether or not a relation is a function? And how does the function and its graph relate to one another? So here we go. We're going to talk about what a function is. A function occurs when x values do not repeat and they are only used once. So functions are when x values do not repeat and are only used once. So in this first example, we're going to look at a set of ordered pairs. Sometimes looking horizontally causes one to maybe make mistakes or see things that aren't really there. So I like to relist or have the ability to relist my ordered pairs vertically so that I can see a little bit better. So x values are your inputs and the y values are your outputs. So I just rewrite each ordered pair in a table format. -2, 16, -1, 4, 0, 3, and 1, 4. And as I'm rewriting them, I can tell right away I did not have any x values repeat. Therefore, this set of ordered pairs is a function. I'm going to draw a picture real quick too while I can. So we've got -2, 16. So we're going to pretend -2, 16. Let's do this in purple. -2, 16 is going to be 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. It's going to be right about here. And then -1, 4, that was -2, 16. -2, 16. And then -1, 4 would be right about there. And then 0, 3 would be right about there. And 1, 4 would be right about there. So you can see that we also could draw a vertical line and use the vertical line test. So here I've got a vertical line and I can use the vertical line test. The vertical line says I can take a vertical line and I can move it left, right, horizontally, and no matter where I pass through the graph. Now the graph is the purple dots. So that is one graph containing 4 points. And as I pass through the graph, I never intersect it more than once in any given location. That is the vertical line test. As long as it passes the vertical line test, it is a function. And it passes the vertical line test when x values are not repeated. Okay, here's another example. So this is a diagram that tells you your inputs and your outputs. So I've got my inputs and my outputs. Now I know that the inputs are on the left and the outputs are on the right because the arrow points to the outputs. So you put a -4 in and you get a 0 out. However, when you put a -4 in, you also get a 4 out. When you put a -3 in, you get a 3 out. When you put a -2 in, you get a 2 out. And when you put a -1 in, you get a 1 out. This right here, I'm going to highlight it for you. The fact that -4 has 2 different outputs for the same input means that this is not a function. Not a function. You can say that -4 repeats. The input of -4 is repeated with different outputs. And if I were to try to graph this, do a quick graph. So if I were to graph this, -4, 0, let's use pink, -4, 0, -3, 1, -2, 2, -1, 1, but then there was also -4, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. right there, negative 4, 4. So I had two, let's bring that red vertical line test. So here we go, we have that red vertical line test going from right to left only because it was on the right originally. It passes, it passes, it passes, it fails. It only takes one failure and then the whole thing is not a function. So this is not a function. Graphically, we're going to take that vertical line test and we're going to try these graphically. So I'm going to move from left to right because that's how I normally go. So I'm going to take this from left to right and I'm going to change the color. We'll make it blue. This way it looks different than the red. There we go. So you can see this blue. It passes, it passes, it passes, it passes. It's continuing to pass. And then it gets here. So right here, it also passes. So I'm going to explain that because I think that you can see that it's going to pass the rest of the way. It passes because this input is an open circle, meaning that that value is not included in the graph, but this closed circle means that the output is. So that passes because you have an input that is only used once, giving you the solid circle, and then the input where it appears it was used a second time is an open circle because that is not a value that is included. Now I'm going to explain this a little bit better over here. So it passes, it passes, it passes, it passes. It's the same picture almost, except right here you can see the same input gives you two different outputs, a positive one and a negative one with the same input. Therefore, the one on the right is not a function. So this is not a function. And usually what I do is I circle the location that it fails. This way I can see with my eyes where it was that it failed. This one on the left is indeed a function. So this is a function. So that's how we can tell whether or not we've got functions by a set of ordered pairs, by a diagram, and our graphical representation.